Hi.
Dobry day.
I'm here to see Kim Woo-jin.
There's no one here by that name. Sorry.
Wait, do you mind if I go inside and take a look around your furniture?
Until the woman walked into the room and saw all these extremely familiar things, she finally confirmed that the man in front of her was the lover she had once loved to the marrow.
미안해, 우진아.
And the reason why the lovers cannot be together is that the man was born with a strange illness. Every day when he wakes up, he turns into a different person's appearance. Men, women, old people, children, and even foreigners. Every morning, he needs to choose different sizes of clothes and shoes, and different prescriptions of glasses for his different self. Even when he turns into a woman, he has learned to put on makeup. Because of this, he is unable to communicate with outsiders and has few friends. He runs his own furniture workshop with his childhood friend, designing and manufacturing by themselves. So he doesn't need to show his face in public. Apart from his family, the only one who knows his secret is his childhood friend. His childhood friend has long been accustomed to his astonishing changes and even wants to have some fun with him when he turns into a beautiful woman.
커다란 우정의 힘으로 한 번만 주라.
미친 거 아니야? 절대 안 돼.
보여주기만 해. 보면서 혼자 할게 내가.
안 떨어져? 안 떨어져?
Also, when he turns into a handsome guy, he takes him to nightclubs to have fun. However, even though he was a fair-skinned, handsome young man last night, he wakes up in the morning as an old man. For someone like him, even if he falls in love with someone one day, it only lasts for a short day. In this lifetime, perhaps he will end up lonely like this, until one day, while browsing a furniture store, he saw this girl and finally understood what it feels like to have love at first sight. The girl was enthusiastic and professional. After just a brief exchange, she could tell that Woo-jin was in the furniture business. She also recommended to Woo-jin a newly emerging brand called Alex. What he didn't know was that the founder of this niche, high-end, restrained-style furniture brand was sitting right in front of him at that moment.
이래도 돼요?
안 되죠.
After that, he would go to this furniture store every day to see Yi-soo. But for Yi-soo, he was just a first-time customer every time. Looking at the pile of Yi-soo's business cards that was almost enough to form a deck of poker cards, Woo-jin was struggling with whether to confess to Yi-soo. From a rational perspective, he shouldn't disturb Yi-soo anymore, but humans are ultimately emotional. Finally, one day, after transforming into a handsome guy, he decided to use this appearance to get to know Yi-soo. Although inner qualities are more important than appearance, who wouldn't want to leave a good impression on the other person at the first meeting? He ordered a chair from Yi-soo and used this as an opportunity to invite Yi-soo out. Yi-soo originally did not want to go on a date with this person she had just met for the first time today, but Woo-jin's determination and sincerity made it impossible for her to refuse. For Woo-jin, if today passes, tomorrow he might turn into an uncle or an aunt, so the next time he could ask Yi-soo out. He doesn't know when it will be. Woo-jin brought Yi-soo to his own workshop. Yi-soo was quite surprised. Their company had always wanted to sell Alex furniture, and he himself had written letters here many times, but there was no response. He never expected to come here in this way today. He was also very curious about what Woo-jin's identity was.
근데 여기 직원이에요?
뭐 비슷해요.
Two people with shared preferences and tastes, and on the same wavelength, having dinner in such an atmosphere, they seemed to have endless topics to talk about. In the evening, when Woo-jin sent Yi-soo back, he didn't drive, but slowly strolled along the road, escorting Yi-soo all the way to her doorstep. When they parted, they were both very reluctant, and they were immensely looking forward to meeting again tomorrow. So the question arises, what should Woo-jin do tomorrow? He discovered that he only changes after waking up from sleep. So if he just never sleeps, wouldn't he be able to keep using this appearance to date Yi-soo? He relied on alarms and coffee to stay alert, working all night to prevent himself from falling asleep. Sure enough, he maintained this handsome appearance without change, and his relationship with Yi-soo progressed by leaps and bounds with each date. However, after so many days without sleep, his body seemed a bit unable to bear it. Yi-soo also noticed his fatigue.
어제 잠 잘 못 잤어요?
나 괜찮은데.
When they parted in the evening, Woo-jin shyly kissed Yi-soo. Yi-soo gently closed her eyes and responded tenderly. All of this felt quite magical to him. They had clearly just met not long ago, but he always had an inexplicable feeling of familiarity with Woo-jin, as if they had known each other for a long time. They had just fallen in love. And then Woo-jin, as expected, drowned. It's impossible for a person to go without sleep for a lifetime. Woo-jin, who had pushed himself to the brink of sudden death, dozed off on the subway, and when he was awakened, he had already turned into a middle-aged man. At this moment, he was also awakened from his beautiful dream. He had always hoped to accompany Yi-soo forever, but now it seems, it was just his own illusion after all. The next day, at the agreed meeting place, he and Yi-soo were close at hand, but he did not dare to acknowledge her. He watched helplessly as Yi-soo waited for someone who would never come, until he saw her take a taxi and leave. He also did not have the courage to answer the phone call from Yi-soo.
이걸로 다 끝이겠지.
Alone, he thought he could let go, but in fact, he couldn't. He pretended to be an intern and went to work at the store where Yi-soo was. When off work, he hemmed and hawed, wanting to invite Yi-soo to eat together. Yi-soo asked him to just say what he wanted to say, because Yi-soo could feel all day that he always had a hesitant manner towards her, as if he wanted to say something but stopped.
채경 씨 나한테 뭐 할 말 있는 거죠?
저 김우진이라고.
Until he heard Woo-jin's name, Yi-soo realized that things were far from simple.
기억하세요?
The girl led Yi-soo to the familiar studio. Confronted with Yi-soo's bewilderment, the girl finally opened up to him.
내가 김우진이에요.
He knew that such a phenomenon was hard for anyone to comprehend. He showed Yi-soo the videos he recorded nightly before bed, and every face in them was his own. He confessed that each morning, his appearance transforms, but despite the change in looks, he remains the same Woo-jin inside. Seeing Yi-soo's look of disbelief, Woo-jin brought up details from their past dates and displayed the ring they had purchased together at a craft shop. Yi-soo instinctively pulled back her hand that wore the ring. She felt betrayed.
앞으로 다시 한채경 씨 안 만났으면 좋겠어요.
However, it was merely harsh words blurted out in a moment of intense emotion. He would lie awake all night longing for Woo-jin, and at work, whenever he spotted a new unfamiliar face, he'd mistakenly think it was Woo-jin.
우진 씨?
네?
착각했나 봐요.
After much contemplation, that evening he still decided to visit Woo-jin's place. Today, Woo-jin had morphed into a short-haired Japanese girl. Even as they sat calmly facing each other now, Yi-soo was still in disbelief.
그러니까 내가 좋은 거죠? 아닌가?
스키다요.
그럼 자요 우리.
Yi-soo proposed that they spend the night together, as she wanted to witness firsthand Woo-jin's transformation upon waking. Woo-jin meticulously recounted the story of what had happened to him. They fully opened up to one another, sharing their love and yearning. The next morning, Yi-soo awoke before Woo-jin. He noticed Woo-jin's assortment of clothing styles, glasses with varying prescriptions, and makeup in the cabinet. He silently viewed the videos Woo-jin had made for each of his different forms, and slowly came to accept this incredible reality and the mysterious workings of fate. Right then, a completely new Woo-jin stood before him, a bashful and cheerful young man. Every day, he would date Yi-soo with a fresh appearance, and every encounter brought new adventures. For instance, when he transformed into a bald guy, they'd visit a tattoo parlor to get inked, and at times, he'd appear as a sophisticated older man.
어떤 모습일 때가 제일 싫어?
The most frustrating transformation was undoubtedly into a child, making their dates feel awkward and unusual. Even when drinking, Yi-soo had to discreetly pour the liquor into Woo-jin's baby bottle. Yet, Woo-jin's petite frame soon succumbed to the effects of the alcohol. As he carried Woo-jin to pay the bill, they were often mistaken for a mother and her son.
아들이에요? 아들이에요?
However, this very situation made Yi-soo feel deeply insecure. She constantly feared that she might not recognize Woo-jin amidst a sea of people. Woo-jin took Yi-soo's hand and laced their fingers together. He would seize her hand before she could identify him, ensuring she wouldn't feel anxious. While their time together was filled with sweetness and joy, The question of how to reveal their relationship to their friends posed another inescapable challenge. When Yi-soo's company hosted a party, they had planned to attend together, but Yi-soo waited in vain for Woo-jin to appear, because that day, Woo-jin had taken the form of an elderly woman with silver hair. In order to make it to the party, Woo-jin compelled himself to fall asleep, anticipating that he would awaken as a male figure. 2 hours later, Woo-jin showed up in front of Yi-soo. Now appearing as a suave and mature gentleman, holding hands was their secret signal. But in this crowded and noisy environment, Yi-soo was still startled. It was on this lazy and ambiguous night that they passionately became intimate. Giving themselves completely to each other without reservation, Yi-soo began to appear in every moment of Woo-jin's life, accompanying him to record beautiful memories together. Woo-jin introduced Yi-soo to his mother, as someone who had been through similar experiences. The mother understood that dating Woo-jin must be very difficult for Yi-soo.
따로 바라는 건 없어요. 그냥 둘이 다 상처받지 않고 잘 지냈으면 해서.
The mother's words were both simple and profound. The passion of a new romance can overshadow all underlying conflicts, but once the initial excitement fades, those hidden issues naturally begin to surface. Clearly, Yi-soo was under greater pressure. She was unable to reveal her relationship to her family. Her sister discovered photos with different men on her phone which she couldn't explain. And even worse, colleagues began spreading rumors that she was dating various men, all of which exhausted her further. Every time they met, Woo-jin was the one who sought her out. Otherwise, she couldn't confirm whether the person before her was her lover. This time, Woo-jin played a joke on Yi-soo, asking her to guess which one in the crowd was really him. In the vast sea of people, Yi-soo felt like a longboat, until suddenly a stranger took her hand.
미안. 난 그냥 장난친 건데.
The joke went too far, leaving her with a lingering sense of insecurity, as if suspended in mid-air. Seeing things from Yi-soo's perspective, Woo-jin realized how inappropriate his actions had been, and he sincerely apologized to her. Afterward, Yi-soo still showed up at his doorstep.
하지마. 나 아직 화 안 풀렸어.
그럼 자고 가겠네.
아 몰라.
Lately, Woo-jin had been repeatedly pondering one question: should he get married? And could he even get married? He felt that being in a relationship without considering marriage would be irresponsible, so he personally crafted an engagement ring, planning to propose to Yi-soo at the right moment. Yi-soo always said that being with Woo-jin made her happy and carefree, but she never mentioned the pressures coming from all directions.
오늘 좀 힘들었는데 계속 오늘 같으면 좋겠다. 너도 지금 모습 그대로.
It was at this time that Woo-jin brought up the topic of marriage.
우리 결혼할까?
Yi-soo's silence had already given him the answer.
농담이야. 이 와인 괜찮지?
A relationship involves only two people, but marriage requires considering many more factors. It had taken Woo-jin many years to accept his own condition, and Yi-soo needed time to adjust as well. Although she understood that beneath different appearances lay the same person, she still needed time to adapt. Moreover, how should she introduce Woo-jin to her family and friends? These were all matters that needed consideration.
근데 내 생각 조금도 안 하고 무턱대고 결혼하자는 너랑 내가 무슨 확신을 갖고 결혼을 해? 그래서 나 엄청 노력 중이란 말이야. 그냥 나한테 시간을 좀 주면 안 돼?
What Woo-jin didn't know was that Yi-soo's depression had worsened to the point where she required medication to cope. Her supervisor also noticed that Yi-soo had been looking very worn out lately. Rumors at work claimed she often went on dates with different men, and the matter even reached the boss, which became the final straw that nearly broke her. But despite her supervisor's concern, she kept all her secrets buried inside.
진짜 아무 일도 없어요. 말씀드릴 거 있으면 그때 얘기할게요.
She went to see a psychologist alone and confided her feelings. She said that whenever someone quietly held her hand, she would know it was Woo-jin. But when she turned to look, she would see a stranger's face. When Woo-jin smiled at her, she could only respond with a smile of her own. A single day was far too short, too brief to become familiar with her lover, especially during moments of intimacy. She would always close her eyes and mentally reassure herself before slowly letting her guard down. All of this caused her immense pain.
제가 점점 이상한 사람이 되는 것 같아요.
끝내고 싶은 건가요? 솔직하게 털어놓고 고민을 나눠보는 건 어떨까요? 그렇지 않고 혼자서 앓다 보면
Just thinking about these things would give her severe headaches. Her depression had already manifested physically. Woo-jin took the unconscious Yi-soo to the hospital, where he learned that she had been relying on medication with significant side effects. In Yi-soo's phone, Woo-jin found a recording of her conversation with the psychologist. Only then did Woo-jin realize the immense sacrifices Yi-soo had made for their love. Looking back, he now understood that signs of Yi-soo's exhaustion had been visible all along, but he had been blinded by what he called love and failed to see them. He confided his feelings to his mother. His mother comforted him, assuring him that Yi-soo would be okay, but only if they never saw each other again.
그게 무슨 소리야?
His mother then shared a long-kept secret with him. Years ago, Woo-jin's father had suffered from the same condition. Back then, his mother had endured the same pain as Yi-soo. And later, to free her from that suffering, his father left her some money and a letter, then disappeared from her life completely. After countless days and nights of contemplation, Woo-jin finally made the same decision his father had made years ago. True love can solve all problems, but it can also destroy everything. So, let's seal these proofs of love and keep them as memories to cherish someday. This year's first snow seems to have arrived particularly early. Amid the swirling snowflakes, Woo-jin calmly proposed breaking up with Yi-soo.
그 약도 그만 먹고 감기 들겠다. 얼른 들어가.
우진아.
After the breakup, Yi-soo's life seemed to return to how it was before. Sometimes at bustling intersections, she could feel Woo-jin's presence nearby, but she lacked the courage to acknowledge him. Actually, after Woo-jin proposed the breakup, she unconsciously felt relieved, but she was afraid that Woo-jin would discover this feeling. She loved Woo-jin, but the pain brought by this love was also a heavy burden she could hardly bear. Later, she received a custom-made chair that Woo-jin had tailored specifically for her. This chair had been in the works for a long time and was only recently completed. Looking at this chair, she once again recalled those past events.
어디 갔었는지 뭘 먹었는지 같이 갔던 식당 반찬까지 다 기억난다. 그 사람 얼굴이 기억이 안 나.
Time is the best cure for everything, and her life gradually returned to peace. In the blink of an eye, 10 months passed, and Yi-soo accidentally saw Woo-jin's work online, with the location being in distant Jack. Later, Yi-soo came to Woo-jin's studio and signed the brand renewal for Alex with Woo-jin's childhood friend. When leaving, she saw Wood from Jack at the door.
진이 어때요? 잘 있대요?
The childhood friend didn't respond. He didn't like this woman who had hurt Woo-jin. On an ordinary morning, Yi-soo unintentionally heard the music she once listened to with Woo-jin from a colleague's headphones. Memories and longings surged over her like a tidal wave all at once. The judging eyes of the world that once made her afraid, the chaos and pain she had to endure with Woo-jin, seemed none more unbearable than the present without Woo-jin. After breaking up with Yi-soo, Woo-jin went alone to a distant foreign country. In this already lonely country, he returned to an even lonelier life. He hid all his longing in his heart, planning to live out his life in solitude, until one day, the person he had missed countless times suddenly appeared before him.
Hi,
Dobry den.
I'm here to see Kim Woo-jin.
There's no one here by that name. Sorry.
Wait.
Although Woo-jin pretended to be calm and rejected Yi-soo, his passionate eyes betrayed his wildly beating heart. Yi-soo, using the pretext of company furniture procurement, requested to see the furniture made by Woo-jin. Looking at all that was so familiar, she was sure that the person before her was the Woo-jin she deeply loved. She tightly grasped Woo-jin's hand, determined not to lose him again this time.
미안해, 우진아.
When time changes and all vanity is washed away, we understand that the body is merely a temporary vessel for the soul, and true love should be the light by which two flowing lives recognize each other in chaos. When Yi-soo pushed through the crowd to embrace that unfamiliar lover, what she embraced was none other than the self in each of us that yearns to transcend appearances and be fully seen. Perhaps true romanticism is never the frozen fairy tale of a prince and princess, but rather daring to hold each other's hand in the face of impermanence, knowing that all things flow, because the ultimate answer of love is forever engraved in the patterns of the soul, not in the wrinkles of the skin.
진아. 나랑 결혼할래?
시간이 좀 필요할 것 같다고 누가 그러던데.
하여간 속 좁아.
Woo-jin silently took out the wedding ring he had made with his own hands. It turned out that he had always engraved that promise of love in his heart, never forgetting it.
네가 다시 해. 아, 얼른.
This little heart racing through the gate.